The very first thing you need to know is this: cancer is a divine tap on the shoulder. And there's a message attached. And that message is, hey, the way you're living is killing you. The way you are living is killing you. Now, I'm not telling you that to make you feel bad about yourself. I'm not trying to put shame on you. What I'm telling you is now is the time to take full responsibility for your life. One of the most important things I did after my cancer diagnosis was to be honest with myself and say, well, maybe this is my fault. Maybe I had something to do with this. If I contributed to my disease, then maybe I can contribute to my health. We live in a cause and effect world, and our choices matter. What you put in your mouth matters, what you put on your body matters, where you live matters, where you work matters. Your choices matter. Cancer is the convergence of multiple health-destroying factors in your life that all come together at the same time. The way you're living is killing you. Just go ahead and accept it. And if you go ahead and say, okay, this may be my fault, you know what that does? It empowers you. It empowers you to change. The cancer industry wants you to think it's not your fault. They want you to think it was just random bad luck and that nothing you did mattered, therefore nothing you can do matters, except showing up for surgery, chemo, and radiation treatments. But the truth is, your choices can make the difference between survival and death. Whether you're doing conventional treatment or not, there is so much you can do to promote health and healing in your body. All of our decisions matter. The diet and lifestyle decisions that you've made up to this point have all affected your health, whether you've realized it or not. And now we're going to make some changes. When we change the input, we change the output. Okay, so let's talk about the specifics of cancer. First, cancer is natural and it is normal. Every person develops precancerous and cancerous cells in their body in their lifetime, but not every person develops tumors. The difference between the person with cancerous tumors and the person with no tumors is their immune system. Your immune system is designed to identify and eliminate viruses, bacteria, parasites, pathogens, and mutated cancer cells. For a variety of reasons, cells in your body become injured. They can get DNA damage or mitochondrial damage, and when a cell becomes injured, it usually repairs itself or dies. But in some cases, that cell will mutate to survive. If it's deprived of essential nutrients or oxygen, it can mutate to become cancerous. Every cell in your body is programmed to die at a certain point. Some cells live for a few days, some live for weeks, some cells live for many months, but they all have a programmed lifespan. The cancer cell doesn't have that. When a cell mutates and becomes cancerous, it starts dividing uncontrollably, and it loses the auto self-destruct mechanism, and it keeps living and multiplying. Eventually, it forms a tumor, and then cells from that tumor leave and form new tumors in other parts of the body. That's the way we've been told cancer develops. But 2 studies on breast cancer published in 2016 found that metastatic cancer cells leave the primary site before the tumor is even big enough to detect. Generally, a tumor can't be detected until it's at least 1 millimeter in size. But by then, it contains between 100,000 and 1 million cancer cells, and it's been growing for 6 years. Stage 1 is metastatic. You already have cancer cells circulating throughout your body. This is why early detection is often too late, and why metastasis happens after they tell a patient, we got it all. A properly functioning immune system is designed to identify and eliminate cancer cells. And if it's not doing that, if you have a tumor or lesion in your body, then that's an indication that your immune system is either overloaded or suppressed, or maybe both. It can't keep up with the demands you're placing on it. Cancer didn't invade you from another planet. These are your cells. Cancer is you. It's your DNA. Your body created it, and your body can heal it. How do I know that? Well, besides my own healing experience, I've talked to, interviewed, and coached hundreds of people who've healed cancer, and many of their stories are much more remarkable than mine. I've met and interviewed many people who've healed stage 4 terminal cancer after chemo, surgery, and radiation failed them, and others who've healed without doing any of those treatments. If you know my story, then you know I had surgery, and then I chose nutrition and natural non-toxic therapies instead of chemotherapy. And my odds of survival as a young adult with metastatic colon cancer, stage 3C, were, as my oncologist put it, very grim. I had less than a 30% chance of making it to the 5-year mark and less than a 20% chance of making it 10 years. I firmly believe that the radical diet and lifestyle choices that I made all the difference. My choices are the reason I'm here today. In the medical community, and especially in the cancer community, there's a long-standing belief that cancer is linear. That means once it starts in your body, it can't be stopped. It's like an unstoppable train. And the only way to stop the train is to blow up the tracks with destructive therapies like surgery, chemo, and radiation. But there's a lot of scientific evidence to the contrary. When cancer goes away on its own, it's called spontaneous remission. This is a medically documented fact. It's a medical term. They made it up, not me. In fact, there's a huge book called The Spontaneous Remission Project. It has over 3,500 references from 800 medical journals. It's the largest compilation of case studies and medical references of cancer patients who've had spontaneous remission. These were cancer patients who either didn't do treatment or the treatment didn't work, and then for some reason their cancer went away. We have scientific proof that the body can heal cancer. The medical industry calls it spontaneous remission, but we have another term for it: healing. Spontaneous remission means the body healed it. The body created it, and the body can heal it. There are thousands of scientifically documented cases, not to mention all the wonderful testimonials online. I want you to understand and believe that healing is possible. The body created it, and the body can heal it, if given the proper nutrients and care, which means you have to change the way you're living and remove all of the cancer-causing factors in your life. In most cases, cancer isn't caused by one thing. Many of you know the story of Erin Brockovich. She found out they had very high rates of cancer in her town because a local factory was illegally dumping hexavalent chromium, and it was contaminating the water supply. And a lot of people were getting cancer. So in that case, they could pinpoint it to one thing, but still not everyone who drank the toxic water got cancer. So the good news is, even if you're exposed to environmental toxins, your diet and lifestyle can be protective. But you still need to reduce your toxic exposure to the absolute minimum. I'm going to show you how to do that in Module 4. Several recent studies have concluded that between 70% and 95% of cancers are caused by our diet, lifestyle, and environment. I'm going to add a fourth factor: stress. I'll address that in Module 5, but for now, let's talk about the first three. Many researchers believe that less than 5% of cancers are genetic, and that 95% are caused by diet, lifestyle, and environment. But even if that figure is closer to 70%, that's huge. 70% has almost everything to do with you. So let's talk about epigenetics. Epigenetics is a branch of science that studies how genes express themselves. So we know that not every woman with a breast cancer gene gets breast cancer. Why? Because your genes don't determine your fate. Your diet, lifestyle, and environment all contribute to whether or not your genes express themselves. We've all inherited some good genes and some bad ones. We want to express or turn on as many of the good cancer-preventing genes as possible, and you want to turn off or prevent the expression of the bad cancer-causing genes. Your diet and lifestyle behaviors and your environment can make all the difference. Your choices matter. there's a recent study that looked at multiple groups of twins. And what they found is that if one twin gets breast cancer, then the other twin has a much higher risk of getting breast cancer, especially if they're identical twins because they're genetically identical. But even though the other twin is a higher risk, many of them still don't get cancer. This further illustrates the point that it's not just about genetics. Genetics may load the gun, but your diet and lifestyle pull the trigger. So yeah, you may have a higher risk of cancer, heart disease, or diabetes if your parents or grandparents had those diseases, but your risk increases the most if you eat the same Western diet as them. So if you live the way they lived, you can expect to get the same diseases they got. If your mom got breast cancer and she had a Western diet and she didn't exercise, and then if you eat a standard Western diet and don't exercise, then yeah, you probably will get breast cancer too. But if you eat a radically different diet modeled after the longest living people around the world with the lowest rates of breast cancer, and you're active, then your risk of getting breast cancer will be much, much lower. Your body is overloaded and overwhelmed. There's too much coming in too fast, and your body can't keep up with the demand you're putting on it. Chaos ensues, garbage piles up, problems arise, and everybody is working as hard and as fast as they can just to try to keep up with the demand, but they aren't able to keep up. Your immune system is overwhelmed and it doesn't have enough capacity to deal with the rogue cancer cell that started multiplying and formed a lesion or a tumor, or maybe spreading in your blood like leukemia or lymphoma. What we want to do is we want to reduce the stress on your body, reduce your toxic load, simplify your life, and create an environment where your body can thrive, where it can prevent and heal cancer. We want your body to be a place where cancer cannot thrive. In the scientific community, they refer to this as an environment that's inhospitable to cancer. It's all about the terrain. Your internal terrain is either hospitable to cancer or inhospitable. We want to make it inhospitable. And there are major changes you can make to improve your internal terrain. Right now, you are what you ate. Your body is essentially made out of everything you put in your mouth. If you've been eating junk food and fast food for years, well, then your body is basically built out of junk. It's clogged up and it's polluted and it's not running right. But when you replace the man-made processed junk with high-quality raw materials straight from the earth, you dramatically change your internal terrain. Why do you think you have cancer? If you're taking notes, write the answer down. What are the reasons that you think you have cancer? I think you know why you have cancer. There may be some factors in your life that you aren't aware of yet, but I'm also confident that there are factors you do know about. If you think it's stress, you're right. If you think it's because you haven't been taking care of yourself, you're right. How do I know that? Because I've talked to hundreds of cancer patients, and when I ask them that question, they all tell me, I haven't been taking care of myself, and I've had a lot of stress in my life. Listen to your instincts and your intuition. Now, your doctor is not going to ask you why you think you have cancer, because most doctors don't care what you think. If you volunteer why you think you have cancer to your doctor, he's just going to shrug it off and say, it wasn't your diet or lifestyle or stress, it was just bad luck or bad genes. Do you really want to live? The first time someone asked me that, it scared me because I'd never really thought about it. I was so focused on not dying, I wasn't really thinking about living and whether or not I really truly wanted to live. If you don't want to do it, if you don't have that strong will to live, don't do it. But if you do want to live, you should know that beating cancer, healing the body, takes total commitment. Total commitment, no excuses. The characteristics of cancer patients that get well, like myself and hundreds I've met, are the same. We're all the same. There are two characteristics of cancer patients who heal cancer. One, they have a strong will to live. And two, they're willing to do whatever it takes to get well. They make no excuses. That's who this course is for. It's for people who have a strong will to live, who take full responsibility for their health, and who are willing to change everything. I'm talking about taking massive action. Minimal action usually produces minimal results. Massive action produces massive results. Sometimes small changes can produce big results, but if that's what you're hoping for, your hope is in the wrong place, because I will never tell you this one supplement or this herb or this one food is going to cure your cancer. And anyone who tells you those kinds of things is scamming you. That's snake oil, the one cancer cure, the magic bullet. There is no magic bullet. Healing requires a total life change. You have to be prepared to take massive action and make a total commitment. I'm talking about at least 2 years. 2 years, hardcore life change. I've seen a lot of cancer patients have dramatic turnarounds in their health in a very short time. 30, 60, 90 days. Tumors start to shrink or even disappear. But a 2-year commitment is essential because that's when you're at the highest risk of recurrence. Every cell in your body regenerates. You have almost an entirely new body every year. Nearly every cell has been replaced, some cells many times over in a year. But 1 year from now, you will basically have an entirely new body. That's pretty cool to think about. You are rebuilding your body. Every bite you take, you're building a new body. Remind yourself every day with every bite. I would think about that when I had cancer as I'm staring at this giant bowl full of vegetables. Some days I would have rather had a cheeseburger, but I reminded myself I'm building a new body. And that's what you have to be committed to do. At least 2 years, hardcore. There's a strange phenomenon that I see regularly, which is a cancer patient will adopt the hardcore diet and life change and do really well in the beginning. They feel great, the tumors start shrinking, or some tumors disappear within the first few months. And then for some reason, they get lazy and complacent, and they gradually go back to their old habits and their old way of living. And then the cancer starts growing again, or it comes back. Sometimes they become impatient that the tumors aren't going away fast enough. And then they let their doctors scare them and talk them into the quick fix of surgery, chemo, or radiation. And then the suffering begins. They're sick, they're weak, they can't eat, they can't get out of bed, and they get depressed and lose their motivation. And all the nutrition and exercise and health-promoting habits go out the window. And then the cancer comes back and their situation goes downhill really fast. And it often does not end well for them. You have time to read and research. You have time to change your life. You have time. Now, there will always be exceptions. If you have a tumor that's blocking your windpipe or your digestive tract, you may need immediate surgery. But most cancer patients have time. Many patients don't even feel sick when they get a diagnosis. You have time to read and research. You have time to change your life, and you have options. Don't let anyone rush you into anything you don't want to do. Don't make a fear-based decision. Listen to your instincts and your intuition. If you don't want to do a specific treatment, if something deep down inside of you is saying, don't do it, then don't do it. It doesn't matter if your family and your friends want you to, or if the doctor says you need to. Your instincts and intuition are powerful. You need to take the time to read and research and to change your life. You could experience a dramatic improvement in as little as 30 to 90 days doing exactly what I'm talking about in this course. Now, let's talk about the people around you. Because if you make a decision to delay or opt out of conventional cancer treatment, some people will not understand. They'll tell you you're wrong and that you're making a mistake. The first person that disagreed with me was my wife, Micah. She loves me, but when I told her I wanted to heal with nutrition and not do chemo, she thought I was making a huge mistake. And then other people around me, family members who loved me and wanted me to live, began calling and telling me I was making a mistake. And like many cancer patients, in order to appease the family pressure, I went to see an oncologist. When I asked him about alternative therapies, he said, if you don't do chemo, you're insane. The only person who supported me in the very beginning was my mom. She's always been a health nut and had stacks and stacks of books on health and healing. My dad was more of a stoic supporter, so he didn't put any pressure on me to go either way. He let me make my own decisions. But I had opposition from other family members and from my doctors. And if you have opposition, I just want you to know it's normal. You should expect it. When everyone else is floating downstream and you're trying to swim upstream, a lot of people are going to be like, hey, you're going the wrong way. So you need to be prepared for that. So when you explain to the people around you that you just want to enjoy your life and feel good as long as possible, they'll back off. By the way, you don't need to tell your doctor everything you're doing. It's going to be a waste of time. You don't need to give your doctor a lecture about nutrition or alternative therapies because he's going to disagree with you and he's going to say it doesn't work, don't do it, don't bother, or I had a patient who tried that and they died. So it's a waste of time and energy to go into any details about what you're doing with your doctor because chances are they haven't spent any time researching nutrition because all of their time is spent with patients or learning about new drugs. You need to build a support system. A 2016 study of over 9,000 women with breast cancer found that socially isolated women had a 40% higher risk of recurrence, a 60% higher risk of dying from breast cancer, and a 70% higher risk of dying from any cause. Don't withdraw and isolate yourself. You need friends now more than ever. So you have to build your team and your support group. If you don't have anybody, you've got to get out there and beat the bushes and find like-minded people. They're out there. You don't have to do this alone. Go to your local hole-in-the-wall health food store and tell them you're looking for other people who've healed cancer or are trying to heal cancer with alternative therapies. Ask for help and you will get it. Just find like-minded people that you can support and who can support you, and you can exchange ideas and encourage each other. That's what you need. Next, make plans for the future. Document the entire process. Journal, do a video diary, start a blog. Document what you're doing because you need to plan to A, get well, and B, use what you've learned to help other people. You need life goals, future goals to work toward. Making plans for the future is very important. You know, the spirit-mind-body connection is a mystery, but something happens when you plan for the future. You're planning to live. You're sending signals of life to your body. It's very powerful. So don't be afraid to make plans for the future. I know some of you may be thinking, well, I don't know if I'll be here in a year or 2 years. Instead of thinking that way, I want you to think, I'm going to live. And these are my plans for my life. For next year, for the next 5 years, for the next 10 years, sketch out your life goals, the things you want to accomplish. I'm going to see my daughter graduate college. I'm going to see my son get married. I'm going to watch my grandkids grow up. I'm going to be a great grandparent. Making plans for the future is so important. When I was diagnosed, I didn't have any children, and I wanted to have a family. I wanted to be a dad. It was in my life plan. But if I did chemotherapy, it was likely that I wouldn't have been able to have children of my own. That was one of the reasons I didn't want to do chemo. And now I have 2 beautiful girls. If I'd done chemotherapy, my girls wouldn't be here, and I probably wouldn't be here either. So make plans for the future. And the last thing is, enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. Don't let fear and cancer steal your joy. Depression suppresses your immune system. It's a vicious cycle. If you're depressed and fearful and anxious and worried, it makes you more vulnerable to cancer. So you need to focus on things that bring you joy, hope, optimism, and encouragement. That's what the Square One course is all about. And you need to start living your life. Really living. There's an organization for young adult cancer patients called Stupid Cancer. And even though they're very conventionally minded, I love their slogan, which is get busy living. Now is your time to live. You could die in a car wreck tomorrow. There's 100 different ways you could die besides cancer. So there's no point in letting cancer paralyze you into depression and inaction where you just sit at home and feel sorry for yourself. Start doing things you've always wanted to do, like Miss Norma. Make plans, get out there, live your life, do fun stuff. Go skydiving, mountain climbing, and bull riding like the Tim McGraw song. Decide to enjoy your life and to enjoy the process and get busy living. Even if some of these radical changes are difficult for you, like giving up your bad habits and your favorite junk food to eat vegetables that you've never liked, you've got to keep your perspective. The fact that you can get out of bed in the morning, that you can see, that you can hear, you can breathe fresh air, you can feel the sunshine on your skin, and that you're alive, these are things to be thankful for. Focused on negativity and feeling sorry for yourself, stop it. Stop focusing on the things you can't do and start focusing on all the things you can do. Focus on all the things you have to be thankful for. You have 1,000 things to be thankful for and happy about. Pick one. This will dramatically change your outlook and your mood. That's where joy comes from. It comes from gratitude. Gratitude is the secret to happiness. Practice gratitude every day.